Hey fellas, this is a late night showing. Got a little light on me to light the subject up. There's some confusion as to when I got out of the game, and it's been about 5 years since my little brother died, so it's been about 5 years. I started dating Jovina about 6 years ago, and I left the game about 5 years ago. So it wasn't back in the 80s that or 90s or any of that stuff. I was still in the game in the 2000s. Okay, as soon as 2005. Now some of you guys are kind of young, so 5 years ago is like a century to you guys. To me, it was like that. Okay, so don't get it twisted. There seems to be some arguing going on or discussion going on about dark-skinned brothers and all that kind of stuff. Yeah, Wesley Snipes made it cool for dark-skinned brothers, and light-skinned brothers kind of went out for a while. But if you really study the game, you can see they came back. If you really pay attention to what women go for, what they consider sisters consider drop dead gorgeous, it's always the lighter skinned ones with the what they call that kind of hair. I'm not going to say that good hair. What they call with that kind of hair, and I understand the reason for it. A lot of sisters want their children to have a different grade of hair. I don't agree with it. Don't get me wrong. I mean, don't misunderstand me. I don't agree with it. Okay? I think hair is hair, no matter whether if it's really kinky or more relaxed. Okay? But I've noticed that to be still within the black population. If you pay attention, you'll see it yourself. So a large majority of sisters out there, their first choice is still the lighter skinned brother. Now, if the dark skinned brother is very well built and very good looking, got a good jawbone, all that, they'll be up on them. Okay, but for an average dark skinned brother, fat face or whatever, again, looks do matter. Okay, in the black community especially, black women can be very picky. Okay, picky. Now, I'm speaking for the educated crowd. Uh, I'm not speaking for ghetto life because I didn't hang out in the ghetto with ghetto trash. So if you tend to come from the lower level of society and you're black, I can't speak for your level of society. Maybe it makes no difference, but I do know that for the middle class and up, they still got some issues going on. I mean, you got people who are black Latins saying we're not black, like Dominicans and Puerto Ricans. Got African roots, but they still not black. That shit's still going on. How many of you guys are Dominican or Colombian, or you got African roots and you don't call yourself black? See how shit's still going on within the black community? All the nonsense. I just listened to a black Puerto Rican sister, yelling at a Dominican brother about that shit. And I don't really get into the YouTube nonsense, the battles and all that kind of stuff, the race shit. But the nonsense of the black Latins saying they're not black is kind of stupid. Okay, my grandfather was French and Indian, my dad's father. So should I say that I'm French? If my son Christopher speaks French fluently, and he was a French interpreter for Harley Davidson. Should he claim he's French, not black? Just because he had straight hair as a kid for a long time? Think about that. So I don't want to get into an argument with black Latino brothers and all that, but that's some of the nonsense that's going on within our community. A lot of them are ashamed of their African roots. I look at people from Cape Verde. I don't know if you guys know where that is. They claim Portuguese. They don't want to have anything to do with black. Although I look at them and I see my father's side people. They're a little bit lighter skinned and some have straight hair and all that. But you tell they're African. They got African roots. And it just like in this country, those intermixtures went on. In other countries, there are intermixtures that went on. In Dominican, they bred with the Spanish. In Haiti, they bred with the French. We're still Africans descent. So that's just part of the nonsense that's going on within our community. I don't agree with it. I don't agree with ostracizing dark-skinned blue-black brothers. And the brothers with the blue-black skin, I don't know if you guys know what a special gift that is, because that's a rare gift to have skin so pure that it's blue-black. So anyway, Lucario, he fits that rare skin. And here in America, I know here in California, I know within the black community, maybe there's pockets where it's not, it's all right. But I can see why Lucario would not go to a black club, because the sisters would be looking at the other brothers who are taller, lighter skinned, and better looking. Nightclubs can be very, very caste oriented. Okay, but I'm no drop dead gorgeous dude. I'm not light skinned, and I did really well in the clubs. And I've been with some mulattoes and sisters, so don't get me wrong. Although most of my women were non-black. If you look at the environment I went to, that's the reason why. Okay, fellas? So I hope that clears it up. I didn't get out of the game in the 90s or whatever that bullshit's going around or somebody thinks. I just got out the game a few years ago to me. Okay? I guess that should clear up some of the nonsense going on. Light-skinned dudes went out with in the 80s with Prince, Nell DeBarge. Roxbury, how do you know? You weren't there. You were probably just a kid then. But it did happen back around that time period. They say it went out, but when in the truth of the matter, women still were going for the light-skinned dudes. And that's what I can tell you from living through that time period also. Okay? Living through that time period, not having been a little child or not even born yet, I lived and watched it. And I was hot in the clubs in the late 80s. So I noticed that kind of shit. And then when I started going to clubs, there were more African Americans there at the clubs I started going to. And then I started going to the upper scale ones. Okay? It doesn't mean I never went to a black club either, because I have been to plenty of black clubs in Old Sac. If you guys live in Sacramento, you know I'm talking about Old Sac. That's where all the blacks and Mexicans went. I used to go on Stockton Boulevard. Does that sound familiar to any of you guys live in Sacramento? Stockton Boulevard? Yeah, I even been over there. But it wasn't where I went on a frequent basis. And I also pay attention when I see people out. And I see marriages. Okay? The light, dark thing still does go for people who are really light-skinned. They tend to pick someone who is the opposite. I've noticed if the woman is a mulatto and she isn't, you guys are in the African American community, you may notice also if she isn't one of those ones that hates her race, then she'll go for a dark-skinned brother, and dark-skinned brothers rule. My parents light dark. My ex-wife's parents light dark. I see that same thing in other communities in the Latino community. Jovina's parents, mom has white skin, father has he has African descent skin. Okay, I pay attention, and I notice that. I see that same thing in the Latin American community, light, dark. But I see all mixtures though. But I've seen that. Not enough to really say it's a common theme, but I've noticed that it's all over the place. Some Indian fellas, East Indian fellas, told me that they're trying to whitewash their race, make all the kids lighter skinned. So they're really on a mission. Somebody of East Indian descent, speak up, let me know about that. I'd like to hear about it. I ran into two East Indians knocking on my door, had to do with my son. They were trying to meet my son or whatever, and I thought they were white guys. They're that white-skinned, and they're Indians. Still spoke, Hindi and all the other languages or whatever. And second thought, I thought they were Portuguese because looking at Jovina's Portuguese flag on her car, and they end up being Indian guys. So all around the world, you see different races trying to get closer to white, and I don't agree with that. I really don't agree with that. Personally, but this is my own thing. I wish it wasn't like that in our community. That's old slave shit that's left over. The light-skinned ones got to be up in the master's house and all that shit. They got better food, better treatment. My mom's father was raised in the white household because he had blue eyes, and he was their driver. He never learned to pick cotton. You know, all kind of creepy shit. I did some research, and there was his last name was Pankey, and a year before he was born, there was a white family named Pankey who's gave birth, you know, at the same time period. So obviously the husband snuck out to the dark town and had sex with one of the Africans over there, African descent people over there, and produced my mom's father. So I would actually have wished for something different. Not to be a racist or anything about it, but I wish for something different because I would like to be able to trace my male roots back to Africa, but I cannot do that. Like a lot of other African Americans, we go back only so far, then we have to trace through our mother's gene pool. Okay, fellas, I hope that straightens some of the bullshit out that's going on, and I don't want to seem like a racist or some shit like that, but it is what it is. This light looks interesting. Hey, it's like in Boy Scouts, you put the light underneath you and tell ghost stories. So you can call this a ghost story. Later, fellas.